All right, this is going to be a position to work on overhead motion. I use this specifically for people who have a little bit of a rounding in their back. I use it for a lot of patients with scoliosis as well. I'm going to use these bars. You can put your hands up on anything, a couch, a chair, a table, right? So I'm going to be kneeling. I'm going to put my hands up kind of higher. Now the way that I set people up with this as far as distance is I don't want my butt to rest on my heels. So if I'm too close, my butt's going to hit my heels, right? If I'm too far away though, I'm going to feel like a little overextended and people tend to let their chest kind of sink. I want to be in a position where I tell people like someone's pulling a string from behind and pulling their hips backwards. So my hips are reaching away from my hands and my mid-back is kind of flattening. I want to feel like my butt gets close to my heels, but it doesn't quite make it there. So the first part of this exercise is me just rocking in and out of that motion, right? And trying to assess if I'm too far or too close. Key for me is I don't want my back to be rounded like this. I want my lower back to kind of sink so that my back ends up in more of a flat, straight line. So I'm just rocking in and out of that motion. Ideally, I would feel maybe some stretching here, maybe some tension in my mid-back. If anything on the top of the shoulder, I'm going to kind of be cautious with that and maybe get in and out of it or go just shy of anything on the top of the shoulder because that's not a healthy feeling. Now the next piece to this is going to be some breathing. So I come back and I get to where I just begin to feel a little tension. And this is where I get into my Schroth breathing concept, especially with the scoliosis patients, is that I want to feel like I'm expanding into my rib cage as I breathe. Right? And the thought is that my ribs are kind of expanding out to the side. Right? Now I want to kind of build on this. So when I'm in that position I was just in, I instruct patients, I want to take my deep breath in, where my ribs expand to the side, and then as I exhale, I want to try to keep that outward pressure. So even as my air goes away, I'm still keeping my ribs out there. And then I'm going to breathe in again. And with that next breath in, I'm going to try and expand a little further. Same thing as I slowly exhale, I still try to keep my ribs out there. So I'm going to do that here. I rock back to where I'm at the beginning of a little tension. I take my deep breath in. As I'm doing this, some people tend to kind of like bounce up. I don't want to bounce up. I want to kind of stay in that flat back position. And as I exhale, I'm trying to keep those ribs pushing out. And I do 3 to 4 consecutive breaths like that where I'm trying to expand my ribs a little bit further and trying to maintain that even as I exhale. So that's kind of the step 2 of that motion. Step 3 is I want to create a little bit of muscle tension. So here, after I've done the rocking and the breathing, I'll either come up to tall and I'll do a little bit of a press down in this tall kneeling position, or I'll have someone as they rock back go to where they feel that tension, and then from here I have them press down like they're pulling down into their armpit as they come up out of that position. So either one of those things are okay. If I'm worried about too much happening at once, I might just have somebody in this position doing it, so I'm sure that they're engaging the right stuff and they have less to think about. Either one. This one I'd hold for 5 seconds and maybe do 10 of them. This one I would slowly rock back to where I feel the stretch, and then I would press down as I come out of it. Now as I come out of it, I'm looking at their lower back. I don't want it like this. I kind of want a little bit of tension in their stomach so that they're pulling their hips underneath them. All right, so those are the 3 steps to this position. Now, I usually pair it with this next one, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw that one in this video too. This one I'm in a chair. I'm in a chair because it's less I have to think about on my lower back, right? I get my feet planted on the ground and I grab a hold of a pillowcase. Now, that was more of a passive stretch of my arms overhead. This is me engaging a little bit more like I have to lift my own arms into that position. So cues that I was giving for this is I go pretty wide on this pillowcase and I pull outward like I'm trying to rip the pillowcase in half. As my arms go up overhead, one thing I'm conscious of, that I'll show you from the side, is that I don't want my lower back to start to go with it. So I think about the front of my sternum and my ribs pulling a little bit down so that my lower back is not excessively arching, right? So I come up, and actually might just be better to see from the side. So as I come up, I get to the top of the motion where I feel like my arms are pretty much in line with my ears, and I do that little check to make sure I'm not like this. So I kind of pull my ribs down a little bit, and then keeping that outward tension, I'm slowly pulling outward on the pillowcase as I try to touch the top of my head. One thing I notice with this is as people come down, they start to angle their forearms this way. So I try to cue them that I really don't want that to happen. Some people, the further down they go, the more this happens. I'd rather them stay up higher and keep vertical forearms versus coming down low and something like this starting to take place, right? And I would have them do, sometimes I do one, and then I come down and take a break, and then I repeat it, I come up, I pull my ribs down, outward tension on the pillowcase, and maybe I'll have them do two. I do it really slow, and I'm really focused on keeping a lot of tension here. My tension with this outward pull is a little bit more out through here, right? As you see me from the front. The main thing with this, I don't want shoulders hiking up towards my ears. So my shoulders are down, and as I pull outward, I'm coming as far back on my head as I can touch and coming back out of it.